Hey, we're gonna start. All right, welcome to IBN. This is a presentation of IBN and IBTV. We're going to talk about True Detective today. I have with me the husband and wife team of Jason and Sion Shankel, a podcast called the Nattercast, and where I met them is from their I Can't Stop Watching pages on Facebook. In particular, I Can't Stop Watching True Detective. How are you guys tonight? Well, it's
Excellent.
evening where I am, so how are you guys?
We're doing really well.
Yeah, this is great
Good,
to get to meet you.
Yeah. It's nice to be able to do a podcast.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
The house.
Yeah, we don't have to clean the house for the podcast.
I know, you can't really do it while you're podcasting. I've never done one hosting. I've thought about it.
Oh, I put on a dinner and everything.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I've never done that before. Like, people say they always do podcasts, like cleaning the house. Like, I'll listen to them when I go to bed. So it's like, sometimes I'm like 20 minutes in, and when I wake up, and then I rewind it, and I try to figure out where I'm at, and then I fall asleep again. Like, it's really this really odd process. Like, it happens like 3 times a night sometimes. Sometimes it's just once. And I'm like, I think I heard this. Like, it's just, my process is a little different.
I'll like listen.
Let's get started. Okay.
No. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I do that. I do that in the car too. But yeah, we can talk about both of us podcasts. So yeah, there's definitely things to that. Both of you, well, either one of you can take this question. But what inspired or what got you to start these sites that I Can't Stop Watching sites, in particular True Detective?
Well, first we already had Nattercast, and that was doing really, really well.
Okay.
Are you in if you're not in the Nattercast group, main group, you probably would really love it there if you're not there. I can't remember if you're there.
I am.
Okay, then that's cool.
I think Stephanie got me on.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Stephanie is one of our super fans. She's really awesome. But first we had that, and we're always looking for the next show. And it was funny one night. I hear the music for True Detective fire up we have a theater room, and I'm back in the bedroom, and I'm like, is he watching that show again? And I walk in there, and I found myself doing it too, and I just stand there with my hands on my hips and go, I can't stop watching True Detective. And we both just like, bells went off, and we started that, and then we did a bunch of other groups with that moniker. We have the website. It's under construction now, because we're thinking about doing something with the I Can't Stop Watching brand. So that's how it started. We couldn't stop watching the first season. We'd be like, watching. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, and so we did. So we have I Can't Stop Watching True Detective. I Can't stop watching I Better Call Saul. I Can't stop watching Orange is the New Black, Daredevil.
Serial. There's Daredevil? I didn't even know there was Daredevil.
Yes.
Yeah, Game of Thrones. But
the newest one is Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot.
Yeah.
But by far the most active is True Detective. That's the one that just kind of set the standard for all the other groups, and that's why we started to create them. Was because like we got so much. We had this incredible wave of people who came in, like the first 1,000, 1,500 people, and we have another 1,000 people came in, who all had the same reaction, especially last season, which was I keep rewatching it, and Matthew McConaughey especially, but both of these guys, and just this story and Carcosa, and just it was in some ways I think that our group, I hate to put it this way, is like almost better than the show. It is for some people this year. They're like, I'm just here for the group at this point. I'm kind of not into this season, but as a group, I'm really.
And one of the things that we like to do, I'm kind of, because it's the first one and it was my idea, so I'm kind of the head honcho at the True Detective, and I've been having a lot of fun being queen bitch. But that group has got some weird shit in it, man. There are some weird. We don't have the problems with any other group that we have with that group.
Sometimes there are issues associated with growth that you don't anticipate. Yeah, it's not, because I was in it about that 1,000 wave.
Yeah,
and it's changed a lot since the first 1,000.
But even the first 100, we had some of the same issues. But no, all the other groups are, no one acts out ever. It's just lovely. Everyone's awesome. But what we like to do is for instance, Mr. Robot came from Courtney Robinson, who you should hook up with, because she does some really great podcasting. and she's in your time zone. And she begged us. She goes, "Please start a group for Mr. Robot." And I go, "Well, we haven't seen it." So we started watching it. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, this will work." And so she's kind of the lead honcho there. And Daredevil, we kind of gave to our friend Jacob, who sometimes podcasts. So, you know, we're still admins on these things, but we kind of like the fans to. We kind of like elevating the fans to do their thing. You know, it's like we want to enable people to be addicts. We really go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to say we're the people's cast.
Yeah, the people's cast.
We're the people. It's like all the fans. You guys are doing the podcast. We're just running the recorder. You know, but like that. Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah, I've definitely enjoyed.
Now we get to meet you. Yeah.
Yeah, and his group of me has been very. It's almost a part of my experience in watching the show. It's like I think I was like 3 or 4 weeks behind, and like I still wanted to see what people were saying about the show and be a part of things, even though I was really behind. But yeah, it's definitely been a big part of why like I don't want to watch the show anymore. I don't think, and we'll get to that. But like I still want to be part of the group. So that's like a consideration. That's the consideration of whether I drop the show or not. Like, so
well, then you don't have to worry about spoilers.
Definitely made an impact.
Yeah. No spoilers.
Yeah. Well, gosh. And I will confess that I have a sports group that has about 1,500. That's my biggest group. But I also have a television and music group. And the television group is basically, I started it with people I met in the True Detective group. And that was like, I did ask the advertiser. You said it was okay. So, like you guys are almost like it's got like 200 now, so it's not that big. It's not as big as the sports one. But let's get right into the questions about the season. The last two, and you guys can go whatever order you want. I won't necessarily say your names because I said your name right the first time, Sion, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you got it.
Did I say it right? Okay, good. So I'm on a roll. I don't want to mess it up. So the last two episodes of the show, a lot of people, critics, and on the page, they both say that it's back on track. Do you guys agree?
In general, yes. I feel like, especially the last episode, felt like it wasn't like the best of like last season or whatever, but I felt like what the show seems to be trying to do this year with this kind of murky orange David Lynch crime story thing felt a lot more real and three-dimensional and richer. To me, anyway, in this last episode. And I think it's a combination of coming to the climax on these stories, and so I prefer watching Vince Vaughn just go nuts, blowing things away, and burning down his casino than going through these awkward dialogue constructions about weird, business transactions. And of course, Antigone and Ray, hooking up. It's like, okay, I was kind of like, I'm kind of a few good men type of guy. I like it when the main characters don't hook up but feel like they're going to, like to see that tension. So, but they didn't do that. They went this way. But I thought it was a good scene, and the characters feel really connected. So yeah, and where I've been down on this season this year myself has been places where it's been, in my view, largely the directing. I'm kind of flowing with the writing, even though people are kind of complaining about it, because it's like I see that he's just sort of playing with cliches and kind of doing some interesting things. And if you shoot it well and act it well, it could be fun. So yeah, definitely in these last two, and I think the last one. What did you think, honey?
My response is probably not going to be real popular. I really don't give a shit about the characters. And I find myself constantly, I have some experience directing, and so and acting, but I'm not interested in acting. Just constantly going into this, like, just deconstructing, going, oh, wow, there's a bad take. Oh, I can see where that light was. I'm just disconnected, and I want to be in it, but I am not one of these people that thinks the Emperor is going to go along with the delusion that the Emperor has clothes just because other people says he does. I have to see the clothes myself. So there are elements of it that are intriguing and interesting, but for the most part, it just doesn't feel like I can't suspend disbelief. Mm-hmm. And that is so key to enjoying a story of any type, whether it's someone telling you a story or whatever. The suspension, especially because obviously this place doesn't really exist and all that stuff. But and I want to, but it's just not there. I am learning a lot of what not to do if I get behind the camera again. and that's been kind of helpful. And the directors that they have on this are some A-list TV directors. Yeah. These are not bad directors. So it's shocking to see them do bad work. And the only thing I can think of is that Pizza Latte is completely over-involved in this.
Yeah. We should explain that we call him the Pizza Latte. Pizza Latte.
Yeah, it's stuck in my head. I don't even remember.
We call Vince Gilligan the Villigan. We got that from Bald Move.
Yeah, we have a lot of names.
That's what I really want to call him, like Pizza Latte. Like when I see his name, that's what I see. Like so y'all are messing up. Yeah. I don't think I can pronounce his name like correctly like 5 times in a row.
But you can respond.
I'm close to this.
I was going to say, you did respond a little more positively to this episode.
This episode
you thought it
was improved, absolutely, but it still had some massive problems. The one thing that I am finding really intriguing is to see Rachel McAdams is just an insanely good actress. I mean, she can be given shit and make it look good. Mm-hmm. That's just fucking gifted. And that's refreshing to see a new young actress with that level of real talent, not just traditional beauty or something. And she's got many moles on her face too. Even though she has the traditional face structure of a movie star, I think she's the gem in this whole thing and the breakout star in this whole thing. Mm-hmm. I think Vince Vaughn's going to have a mixed bag of career issues after this, but who knows? And I don't think it's his fault. I honestly don't think it's his fault. Because you could tell he was given completely different direction in this last one. He's trying to do these emotive microfacial things that a lot of movie stars, that is what it is. It's facial acting. It's not like stage acting. It's not real physical. And the problem is that he can't pull it off. That's not where his skill is. He actually is really powerful when he's stone quiet.
Right.
All of a sudden, it's like he has an aura and there's charisma. And I had a professor even tell me this once when I was studying theater and acting and stuff. In me particularly, I had that quality too. I don't do well with micro expressions when I used to perform. But if I stood still, all eyes were on me. It was just interesting. So I'm glad to see that this director picked that up, that this is how to work with this actor and this is what his strengths are. Whereas, gosh, McAdams, she can move every muscle independently in her face and neck like it's a violin. It's amazing. So that's a good director will see what the real talent is and adapt to it and nurture it. And I just feel like there's like this cookie cutter thing that's been going on, and Pizza Latte is just telling everybody you have to just do it my way, and he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Cary Fukunaga was insanely visionary. That kid knocked it way out of the park. He's like one of the top directors to be watching right now. And you can really, you see this big like vacuum of him being missing. But in interviews, I got the impression that they fought a lot, and that's one reason why they're not working together again.
Yeah, it seems like there's a rift, and there's rumors of
that. Oh yeah.
So let me get. You guys have both kind of touched on it, but I'll ask the question in a more direct way.
Sure.
What do you think has been the biggest weakness of the season so far?
Well, directing.
Lazy writing. Lazy writing, and somebody
didn't like that yesterday.
And somebody is sitting on the directors creatively.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think that this writing could be directed better, so here's the thing I'm getting. Like I'll give the example I've been using throughout. So I'm a writer. I see things this way usually, and so for example, Paul Woodruff, right, is clearly repressed homosexual, right, for whatever reason, whether he's naturally homosexual or bisexual and was ruined for women by his mother or whatever it is. He clearly has a problem with that as well. Military culture, whatever other reasons, even in California, right? And the issue is that that idea, the self-hating gay, typically man, is a Hollywood trope that goes back to the 30s. You know, it's
been beaten into the ground.
It's been beaten in the ground, and it's been done well. If you look at like the Maltese Falcon, for example, Joel Cairo is clearly a gay character. He doesn't seem to have a problem with his sexuality, but it's like it's a celluloid closet thing. They never say that he is, but he behaves that way and that kind of thing. And so I wanted there to be something clever to it. It's like, okay, well, you're introducing something. It's almost like putting people in blackface or doing something really like bizarrely, old-fashioned and potentially offensive. And so when they do that, you want it to be like Tropic Thunder. You want it to be like, we're really playing with this, narcissistic Australian actor idea, and we're going to push it to this edge that might really push people off, or Simple Jack in the same movie, right? I wanted it to be something like that, where it's like we're playing with these old cliches, but we're going to do something clever, or it's going to turn out to be something different, or something like that.
And it's not.
And it hasn't. And so I'm like, okay, well, the self-hating gay. Okay, I've seen that before.
And it's also,
yeah. And I thought the best. Okay.
It's not believable.
Yeah. Well, go on.
I mean, this is 2015. It's not believable that it's very unlikely that this character would exist.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess you could still have homophobic, especially cops and soldiers, but he wouldn't be so.
He's on his own.
He wouldn't be so without resource.
Yeah.
So like
it was like it was a different time period. It did seem kind of like this secret would destroy him, but if you look at motivation wise, this secret would not destroy his life. And I thought it was very heavy-handed. Last episode, I think, is what you guys were talking about, where basically, I guess the boyfriend, I was kind of in and out on that episode, but he was like, if you just were who you were, this wouldn't have happened. It's like, how heavy-handed can you get? And is your message that if you struggle with homosexuality, you will lead to, I'm simplifying, but is the message like, if you struggle with homosexuality, it will lead to your doom? Like, are you really banging me over the head with that?
Yeah, it kind of, I think that, and I would agree with you. It was kind of on the nose and kind of like but I like the idea of them exploring, and it doesn't have to be homosexuality, but it is a good way to do it. The whole secrets kill thing, the whole thing, and I've written this in the group. The whole theme, like you'll often see when someone is trying to cover up a crime, that's actually when they commit a crime. As opposed to was a misdemeanor, but the cover up becomes the big drama. Yeah, they get you, and that's
not the theme; it's the execution.
Yes, exactly.
They have not. Like, I don't want to be told literally that this is why you have a demise. I want to either notice it, or when I go to a blog and someone says it, I'm saying, oh yeah, that's a good theme. You should be true to yourself. But just to literally say it, so on the nose.
Yeah,
he's on the nose, right? Exactly.
Although to him, he needed to be talked to in an on-the-nose way, because he was not. He's his self-denial. Ridiculous. So it was believable that a character would speak directly to him like that, because he, as a character, he's kind of a bonehead, myopic, not very worldly. Doesn't have a lot of experience in the world, and I mean, he's living with his abusive mom, for Christ's sake, and there's no reason. He has money to live on his own if he wanted to.
This isn't the normal heart, He's not.
He's not. This
is not an HIV era stage play. He's not like confronting real. It's like, you're gay, just be gay. You're gay in California, nobody cares. It'll in fact help you with your current lawsuit situation.
Yeah, you could have gotten out of the lawsuit just by saying, "Lady, I'm queer."
Yeah, except for he's got a girlfriend.
Or he could have, and if he was out, he could have said, "No one's going to buy this lawsuit. I'm out at the department." That whole thing would have gone away. But it just shows you how much he's holding on to whatever it is. Yeah.
You both of you guys said lazy writing, I think, and everybody throws around these terms, and I want to ask you guys to explain what you mean, but I'll give you my example first, and you guys can either give me examples or just tell me what you mean by it. My example is when Paul leaving the money, $20,000 with his mom, who's, my kids are close by, but who's batshit crazy, And that was where you thought the best place to leave the money was. And some people on the page were defending it, but I'm just saying, no one who would be around that woman would leave $20,000 around her, no matter how well they thought they hit it. There's no one with any kind of logic that would do that.
And that's the point, was to show what a stupid character he was.
Yeah,
you know?
Maybe. Oh, no.
That worked. I thought it was. He's not very bright.
And well, and
that
also,
worked for you. Okay.
I wouldn't think, especially after working in security and stuff, that you have a safe deposit box. That's just common sense.
So I mean, now here's the thing. This
no one can be
well, somebody might have broken into the trailer. Might not have anything to do with her, you know, and that's just stupid all the way around. Yeah.
Yes. I think a part of it also is it's lazy writing. Sure, okay, but the other thing too is that it's in this weird uncanny valley between being a new thing and being a pizza latte ripping himself off. So there are too many references to last season. Mm-hmm. We keep getting reminded that there was a much better version of this story, you know. And so there's this like, for example, the first season he took 5 years to write that. He wrote it like a novel, and he got these two guys. Right, he got Matthew and Woody involved, and they know each other, and they workshop these characters, and the characters are narrating from multiple positions. They're narrating from the present, multiple positions of the past. So we're hearing how they regarded each other and how they regarded the situation and how things moved, and they became likable. Marty's likable, Rust is likable, even if they have nasty parts of their personality. It's like you on their side. You want them to be, you know, successful, and we don't have quite as much of that investment in these characters, because they're not really narrating their life. They're not at all in touch with themselves in any kind of interesting way. The way that Rust sees himself like in a very razor sharp way. And Marty is very delusional about himself, but he's very affable and charming in his delusions. You know, and so I think it's not just that Matthew and Woody are much, much better actors, because Colin Farrell and Rachel McAdams are very good. They're very good. You know, it's just that they don't have that connection that we had from the beginning. So yes, and so then we have like references to the e-cigarettes and things like that, where it's like you're kind of regurgitating this story that you did a little bit better. And I thought that the like last year, you know, there was kind of the whole Carcosa Yellow King myth thing. I kind of wish that paid off better, but it was still fascinating and fun while we were going, and life is a circle, time is a circle, and all that. I had a whole article in IO9 about that the Yellow King is the circle of time, is a drug that makes you see it that way, and blah, blah, blah. There doesn't seem to be anything that profound. If you go back to the website for last season and you see Reverend Theriot's sermon. That's so that's a guy in the revival tent where Rust is saying, you know, look at these people, Marty, they're fat and they're believe in God. And that's stupid, you know, and all that stuff. In the show, we see like 2 sentences of that, and it seems like Jesus-y stuff, and okay, cool, whatever. The full sermon that they did on the line is brilliant, and it's all of Rust's philosophy reconstructed from a Christian point of view. It's all about the circle of time, and that's what salvation is realizing the totality of the circle before being forced back into it with nothing, and all of that. You know, he put a lot of effort into crafting last season that this year he just feels like he just slapdash painted the house.
You want to jump in, Sion, or did Shiki?
Oh, no, I'm just listening.
Yeah, that was it.
I'm also.
Oh, God, I didn't know she was jumping. But this is a good question. I heard some noise in the background. I didn't know if
dog management.
you were tending to the cats.
We have a dog named Tyrion, and he wanted to be on his little Lannister pillow. I kid you not. So he is on his damn pillow.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that from that your name was Tyrion. Yeah, I want to get a pet and name it after somebody on Game of Thrones. Like, you've inspired me.
Totally.
But I don't know who I would name it.
All of our animals, and mine throughout for a couple of decades now, have all been characters from TV or literature.
Yeah.
My first dog was Macbeth.
Well, I named my.
We've had Snake Plissken.
I named my oldest son. Oh gosh.
My
My oldest son's middle name is Kal-El after Superman. His middle name is Kal-El after Superman. So yeah, I'm into that too. Yeah, exactly. I guess I'm Jor-El. But this is for you, Sion. The depiction of women was a big criticism last year. What have you thought of that this season?
It's just as bad.
You really think so?
Yeah.
I like that Antigone has much more
I thought it was
story than any woman did last year.
Yes. There is improvement. We have one female character who can actually influence the plot. That's it. That's the only improvement.
Two. We have the state's attorney or investigator.
She moved the plot.
But she's not.
Too. Much.
She's not particularly female. She's just a character.
Technically, technically.
We didn't get to know her at all. We didn't get to know her. She was very one-dimensional. Yeah.
Yeah, and oh gosh, I got a brain freeze. But Vince Vaughn's wife, what's her name?
Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan. Yeah, Jordan. What do you? I mean, I think as far as mob wives go, she's slightly more empowered than the average one. But that's not saying a lot. But
they have the most evolved mob marriage since The Sopranos. Probably the most therapized.
Yeah.
They seem to have their therapy words.
I got to defer to
attaching when they fight and everything.
She is so poorly directed, and she's one-dimensional still. She doesn't.
Right.
She whines about stereotypical a negative female thing, and it doesn't make sense. It's like, yeah, she can have those negative qualities, but you got to give her more qualities, and that actually makes the negative more interesting. You have contrast.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to have a really good drama, you have to have at least one joke in it, because the break in the tension with the humor actually makes the drama more poignant. It can't be monotone, and she's monotone. And a lot of the female characters are very monotone. That Nick, just sees them as props and only sexualizes them. How are they sexually related to a man, the male character? They're all extensions of just sex fantasies or something, or the mom. That's it. And it's like Shakespeare. Basically has like three characters for women: the crone, the virgin, and I just forgot.
And the mother.
And the mother.
Yeah.
That's it. Those are the only three things you're allowed to be if you're female, and you have Shakespeare's play. You can't do anything else, and those are all related to fertility, their fertility status, and what their connection is with their fertility to a man. There's nothing else. Nick is doing the exact same thing. It's that limited, and it's just a really boring, flat way to depict women. We're half the population. We kind of interesting.
I think you're right about that. I think the only other, the one that I'd give a couple points for is Athena Bezarides. I think that's largely performance. I think her performance is pretty good.
I do like the way Athena and how she talks about her body and sex work and stuff is refreshing. Mm-hmm. That is like, oh, he did a little bit of homework here. That was kind of refreshing.
I think he just went to like a sex worker thing and just grabbed a pamphlet. Here's a couple of basic attitudes about treating it like an art or craft or whatever. But I just also think it's just
YouTube video
too. Just she's just very natural to me.
I'm completely. I think that she's and you get to see that she's an interesting character. She talks about other things that interest her. She isn't talking just about how she's connected to a man and talking about her fertility status, whether she's the mother, the virgin, or the whore. She's not. I mean, she talks about other stuff, and she has this. You can see she has a genuine affection for her sister, and that's not dependent on anything like just a man and what his level of dick interest is in her.
So what is that test? I forget the name of that test.
The Brechtel test?
The Brechtel test? Yeah. So does two women talking together about a raid on an orgy pass the Bechdel test? Does that count as talking about a man? Or?
No, I don't know. That's a good one. I don't know.
I have to think about that.
We'll talk about that over dinner, because you and I will get into some nice conversations over that. It'll be funny.
Yeah.
There's a slight improvement, but and basically Annie has to act like a man to get respect. Mm-hmm. She has to have the same foibles and that's it. That she doesn't get to be a woman. One thing I like to point out, because a lot of people hear, those of us who are feminists, and I'm a sex positive feminist, which is a little more modern and different, but because I'm like pro pornography, I think it's healthy. But Yeah, no, I'm pro-sex. It's fine. I don't think women are dirty if they're interested in sex, but or their lack of interest in sex. That doesn't make them less powerful or meaningful, even though Nick would say so. But but so there, what I think is really valuable, and we had some great discussions in Nattercast when I made this discovery, and other people watched it. You have to see it done right, and then once you've seen it done right, all the bells go off in your head, because we're used to seeing women not written very well, particularly in noir crime dramas. Mm-hmm. There is a noirish, dark, very dark crime drama that's all female driven, and not one woman in there is stereotypical. They're all completely believable. They have women issues, and it is sizzling hot. It is one of the best crime series I've ever seen. It's not boring at all. It shows you that women, middle-aged women who don't have perfect bodies, can be action stars. It's awesome. Without having.
What show is this?
It's called Happy Valley, and there's 2 Happy Valleys right now trending on Netflix. One of them has to do with is a documentary about the whole UPenn child molestation thing. So you don't want to watch that one if you want for this. It's called Happy Valley. It's the BBC, and it's interesting because the men are all subordinate to the female characters in a way that you usually don't. But you get to see how it's done right, and it's so exciting. And every man that I've turned on to it loves this show. It's not like, oh, feminism is being shut down. No. This is what real women look like, and they are just as exciting as the stereotypes you come up with, maybe more so. And this show proves it. Go watch that story. It's great.
Yeah, it's not women proving that they can be like men. It's women proving that they can be women.
Yeah.
Right. And I loved Happy Valley. Highly recommend for anybody who liked True Detective.
Oh yeah.
It's in the same vein.
Oh,
it's one big long crime. It's very appealing detective investigators with personal problems.
You're going to this dark kind of path of making connections with people.
Yeah,
and a past, a grievance sin and
childhood trauma being pathologized into murder and rape and things like that, but also the dealing with family and while trying to solve these horrible crimes. Yeah. It's British True Detective.
And there's humor.
Yeah, a lot of humor. Yeah.
But it's very dark and very soulful. If you're a True Detective person, you're going to love Happy Valley.
I might check it out. Sounds good. You guys resolved it well.
Oh, it's just great. It's kind of like, if I had a teenage daughter, I'd be like, even though it's the
older
subject,
teenage
daughter. Older teenage daughter, I'd be like, watch this. You get to see a show with, it's not like they're role models per se, but the relationships, everything. It's interesting too, because it's like now guys can see what it looks like when none of the men have agency to drive the plot, except for the villain. It's like, see how it feels, guys? We're a little bored with it.
Well, and not only that, they have the same general lack of agency women have, and then they have a bunch of agency in the family. Because there's a whole father-son.
And the kidnap stuff with the woman.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
we're sizzling, dark shit that's wonderfully played out.
So welcome to R.C. Carlton's Happy Valley podcast.
Let's like on the page. Let's steer the discussion back to.
But go watch that, and then go watch True Detective, and bells will go off in your head. I'm serious, it will.
Yeah.
At least you didn't spoil it.
Now
at least you didn't spoil it.
I'm not going to spoil it.
No, it's a big deal on the page.
You're gonna love it though. The spoiling thing is pretty fun.
Yeah, I think I will check it out. You've done a good job of selling it. All right, Vince Vaughn, his depiction has been criticized, and I found it myself to be really uneven. Yeah. What have you guys thought of his? I mean, you touched on it a little bit, but we can go into more detail now.
Poorly directed. I think that the directors and him are not being creative at all and going, what really is his power as an actor? It's like he's trying to force himself into this role. And they're not letting him be funny when he should be. Mm-hmm. He could be so snarky funny, very Walter White edgy, that would have been really hot.
Yeah.
And they're also giving him these long, wordy things to go off on.
Thesaurus soliloquies.
I feel like I'm listening to some bad.
Those are the killers.
Like he's reading a bad Pulp Fiction novel to me in the grocery aisle store.
So
grocery store.
It almost feels like so throughout this entire show that like when Ray gets shot and he dreams that he's in that bar that he meets Frank in, and he dreams about his dad, and his dad has David Lynch's hairdo, and we're doing like a syrupy dream sequence. And it's like, well, David Lynch does syrupy dream sequences. What is this about? Why are we doing Mulholland Drive? And I just lost my train of thought entirely. Oh, Vince Vaughn.
He's copying David Lynch.
Vince Vaughn. I keep thinking with the soliloquies and the pretentiousness his character has, which is overt. Like he says that, I was a lower class kid and I was raised up and I do this and that. So this is one of these autodidactic lower class people who educates themselves with a thesaurus and tries to become a better read person on their own. That's very much like his character in Swingers, who is much younger, obviously, and in a different way, also pretentious, also pretending to be a gangster, kind of, with his buddy and being this domineering guy over Jon Favreau. And pretending to be a player in a casino and all this stuff when he's like a 23-year-old guy with like $25 in his pocket. And it just felt like this feels like are you doing community dinner theater production of Swingers? With like kind of David Mamet dialogue or something. So it felt a little awkward. I like Vince Vaughn. I find him to be an appealing actor. I think when he's given the right role, he has a narrow range. Yeah. But when he gets the right role, he nails it really nice. And this role is in his range. Yeah. And they've just, and I don't think it's just the directing. I think directing is a big part of it. I think it's also that all he has to play against is Jordan and a bunch of enemies, right? So at least Ray and Annie have each other to talk to, right? And at least Paul is kind of part of that team, right? It's like these are characters who have a moments of humor around e-cigarettes and all this other stuff.
Yeah, Frank, he doesn't get car time.
Yeah, there's car time.
Get that car time. The
car
other
time.
one.
He did have car time, but he crushed his glasses in his car time. So I think it's also.
Wait, he had the coffee time with Ray, but that was about it.
Right. The only time that he opens up and connects is with Jordan on an issue that we kind of really don't care about, but he is actually pretty open about how his feeling about reproduction and his business and all that stuff. And with Ray in the bar, he seems to actually have a kind of older brother, even though he's the younger brother, or I guess he'd be older, feeling for Ray. It's like, I'm sorry to see you be a coked out booze head, can you work for me or whatever. So I miss that. Every time that happens, I kind of feel like, oh yeah, I kind of care about Frank a little bit. And then there's less to care about as he goes through the plot. Whereas with Ray and Annie, I care about them more as they get into the plot because they're doing it together.
There you go.
Yeah, and I think one of my biggest problem with this character, with Vince Vaughn's character, is that, well, among other things besides the monologues, but that he just seems like he's coming back and he just walks through town, basically takes his territory back, and everybody's like, okay. And I'm exaggerating and oversimplifying, but only by a little bit. It's like they have a little discussion, and it's just like he's going to do this because this is the plot, and there's not enough resistance.
This is always the problem, and it's a problem. It was a bit of a problem last year, except for the plot turned out to be fairly simple. It's like it's guaranteed to not. You would think that if Frank was being set up to be robbed, basically by means of murder and all this.
I think it's breaking up a little bit. I think we are breaking up. Give me a second. It might be on you guys' end because I still see my thing going. I think we're having some technical difficulties, guys. Let me see if I can get them back because I can't hear them anymore. Let's see. Mine is still going, but theirs is not going. Can you guys hear me still? Let me see if I can ask them on Facebook. But I'm not sure where he was going with that. But with me, it's just like so much going on in this season. And if Vince Vaughn's character had more relationships within his clique that he could bounce off of, like Jason kind of talked about, then maybe we could feel more for his character. But for me, it just seems like it's way too easy. All right. Okay.
Yeah, we lost you there for about 10 seconds.
Yeah, it clicked out. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
You finish your. I think you were. We
No,
were
I was
doing
done.
Vince
I was
Vaughn
done.
thought.
Oh, so just saying that.
I think we met.
Hi.
I didn't hear any of it. So
it's
just like. Give me
I was just saying that it seems like the guys who were setting up Frank would have anticipated that he's going to strike back. Would have either been prepared for it or just killed him along with Casper. And then we get to this sort of half-assed notion that the old Russian guy, I think his name is Olsov or Olegov or whatever it is, just sort of has affection for Frank and talked his board into not killing him. And it's like, well, that's really convenient. That way we had a character for all. It was like the only reason I left you alive is so that there wouldn't be a plot on this side of the show. So again, it's lazy writing. It just feels like there is a fascinating element for me as a writer, though, because the first season, very similar structure in a lot of ways, and same themes in a lot of ways. It's like almost down to where you had like Reverend Tuttle is like the Southern evangelical Christian version, and then Elliot Bezarides is the California hippie version of the same guy, the sort of aggressive social spiritual leader and that kind of thing. I think it shows the value of it. It shows what a writer given enough time can accomplish on his story and what a rushed writer will produce. And it's like, here's the same writer, and he did so much of a better job over here because he had 5 years and he took all the time he wanted and he really worked it out and he made it just perfect for himself. And here he had 1 year to rush through, and he had everybody, and he had the pressure of a TV production. And just kind of, we were also big fans of Sons of Anarchy, and Kurt Sutter would often take like a lot of the writing on that show and really demand long periods of time, whatever. And he shouldn't have been. He should have been given an editor and more control. And I think Nick needs an editor. Nick needs a story team. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot to take on just for anybody.
It is. I mean, I credit anybody.
This leads a good segue.
Yeah, he did a better job than I would have done. Given the
I fancy myself a writer too, and I think so. Yeah, if I had 5 years, I couldn't write season 1. But
exactly.
Leading into this question, that's a good lead-in. Is a lot of people, and Stephanie, I talked to her a lot. I felt at first, at least anyway, that some of the criticism seemed a lot like over the top. Do you guys feel any kind of like grudge or just a reason for the harshness that the critics had? I don't know what it would be, but other than him, he just doesn't seem that accessible this season. Like I see a lot of the showrunners, they do like postmortems on Entertainment Weeklies, and I haven't seen him out there doing that, or I don't know. But it just seems like the criticism.
You think they're personally attacking Nick? Like they're mad because Nick is not playing with them?
That's more of Stephanie's theory. My theory is that I don't really have a theory about it, but it does seem more harsh than the material would dictate. Like it's been uneven, but I don't think it's been horrible. But a lot of people have just like, it's almost like love to trash it. Like can't wait to trash it almost from the critics that I read.
Yeah, I would disagree with that because when what is in it for them? If they are just willy-nilly trashing things, they're not going to stay in business.
And there's one. I mean, I think rarely do people say, "Oh, they're just jumping on the bandwagon to like a show." Unless there's a lot of effusive praise. Right. I think the criticism is honest. I think. Yeah. I mean, there really is a huge. I mean, let me put it this way: it's like I tell you, okay, we're gonna binge. You've had enough time to get past everything. We're gonna binge True Detective this week. And which season do you want to watch? People are gonna say season 1. Die-hard fans of the show are going to see season 1. There's almost nobody that I've heard say season 2 is so much better than season 1, right? So if season 2 and season 1 were really comparable, you'd see even numbers of people saying, I didn't really like it last year, but it got so much better with Vince Vaughn, versus, oh, Matthew McConaughey was best, you're never going to, top him. So the fact that no one will say that this season is better than last season means that the people at the low end of the bell curve who are like, this season is trash, are probably sincerely motivated. And speaking for ourselves, Sion disliked the season more than I did, but I'm basically still B- on it. As I'm not putting myself in the business of podcasting TV shows I don't like, and I don't run multi-thousand user websites to discuss TV shows that I just so I can get in there
and enjoy hate
and just hate on it.
No, I would much rather be liking the show.
If I wanted to do that,
that's more fun.
If I wanted to do that, I'd be running a Walking Dead page. Don't get me started. So yeah, no, I think the criticism is sincere by evidence of the fact that you'll find very few people who will say this is better than season 1.
There are some people that do, and they're entitled to their opinion.
They're entitled to their opinion, but it's
I'm entitled to say it's bullshit. Bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit.
I tell people.
Yeah, and also here's the thing too. There's a logical fallacy called argument from motive. If you're saying the reason you're making an argument is because you just hate, you hate Vince Vaughn or you're jealous of Nick, what if I am? That doesn't make me wrong. Right, being motivated to tell the truth doesn't mean you're not telling the truth, right? So once you've said that, once you're starting to criticize people's motive for speaking, then that means you actually don't have an argument against what they are actually saying. Yeah. Otherwise, you could just attack what they're actually saying.
Yeah, if the show is so great, tell us about that. Don't just, I don't like what this person says, so I'm going to challenge their motives and just call them a hater.
Yeah.
That shuts down dialogue. When I say I don't like it, I always give reasons for why I don't like it.
Right.
And when somebody comes back and just says, "Oh, you're just a hater. You just like being negative," and I'm like, well, why don't you tell me let's argue the points of the show, not what you think is in my head. That's not fair. It's like they even say that in therapy. The first thing you don't do is tell someone how they're feeling. You tell them how you're feeling, and then you go back. The other person says it, and in healthy discussion about a show, a person can not like something in the show, and that doesn't mean there's something wrong with them as a person. And there's been this. I get it that if you love something and you're kind of personally attached to it, that you don't want to hear the negative. I get that. Because I have like an attachment to Better Call Saul that's kind of unhealthy. And I basically cannot give a negative comment about that show. And I know that that's kind of strange. But because there's got to be some feeling. Nothing's perfect.
Odenkirk seems a little old for the role.
No, nothing's perfect on that
perfect.
show. I'm ridiculous for the podcast that show. I'm absolutely such a fangirl. It's ridiculous. So it's like, so if someone says, you just like to hate for the sake of hating, well, go listen to my Better Call Saul podcast. Because when I like something, I like it. Because people want to like stuff. Yeah. That was another thing that I learned when we had a professor once was teaching us how to audition. This is years ago, so I'm an old lady now. But and he says, people come in here and they think that we're going to tear you down. He was actually, those of us sitting behind this table, the directors and producers and agents and everybody, we need you to be good. We're desperate for you to be good. When you don't do a good audition, we are disappointed for you.
Right.
And for us. We're not angry and we're not going, I told you so, because it's fun to hate. And so that's the same thing for me. I need these shows to be good. I want a good show. I'm going in with the most optimism. And the lesson was don't be nervous on audition because you're going in front of the most optimistic group of people that are on your side. They're starting out on your side. And so when the show does not, live up to that potential, I get to say something. And it doesn't mean that I'm just being a shit.
Yeah.
Because I did go in. Everyone's motivation is to go in and go, you know what? I really want this to be good. I'm like, and then everything, if it's not good, it's a disappointment. It's not, I want this to be bad. I'm going to be looking for it to be bad. And then I'm going to spend hours talking about how bad it is. That's not logical. So, it's, and I ask questions sometimes in the group when people just, take a personal shot. Well, you're just hanging. And I'm like, well, prove me wrong. Tell me what's so amazing about the show. Tell me a scene and tell me why. Break it down for me. And they don't. They just want to, yeah. So, does that make sense? RC?
Yeah, it definitely does make sense. Yeah. You're more optimistic than I am about the human condition, even though I feel like that too. Like,
that's pretty fucked up.
A lot more optimistic. I think there are a lot of people that live to hate on things, but I don't think that necessarily should be a way to shut down criticism.
I don't think a lot of people do live to hate on things.
Well, and also like in our group, a lot of people who are like down on this season, they were very positive on last season. So if they were just there to hate things, they would have hated last season, hated this season, hated everything they see.
Yeah.
Maybe,
the people that seem to not like it, or just,
maybe
they leave the group. I mean, if you don't like something, you don't put energy into it, right?
Yeah, I think there is there's almost like I mean, I agree, I hear what you're saying, RC. There's almost a hipster quality to the way some people address almost anything. It's like, I don't watch television.
Oh yeah, that.
I don't wear shoes. I don't, I don't eat food.
Or even the phenomenon of hate watching. The hate watching is in vogue now.
Yeah,
hate watching is in vogue now. So even like that kind of thing.
I am guilty of some hate watching. I
hate
watch The Walking Dead with a passion.
See? It exists.
Absolutely. But it's not because I want to hate it. It's because it's such a delicious hate cast. Because I am loyal to zombies. So if I get a zombie kill,
married to a man whose loyalty is to zombies.
It's to zombies. If I grew up with, I'm old school Romero. My first zombie movie was Night of the Living Dead. My second was Dawn of the Dead. I am not a neo-zombie person. I've been doing it for 40 years. Okay, but so for me, what it is about Walking Dead is that it's lovably hateable, because it gives me the payoff that I'm looking for out of a zombie show, and then it makes these characters that are somewhat interesting, and there's a few of them that are I thought relationships that are really great, and then the plot completely explodes and falls apart and makes no sense at the end of the season. So it's almost like watching a train wreck. You're like, I cannot believe that they set this thing up so perfectly and paid it off so poorly. Is like the opinion I go in with. But I'm prepared. I'm doing that. I don't then get on Walking Dead forums and talk about how bad it is. I don't spend much time doing that, at all. I do it in Nattercast. I'll say I couldn't believe that, and then I'm done. Because the joy is in the anticipation of the hatred. It's like, this is really gonna suck. It's like poking a tooth, a sore tooth with your tongue. You just really want to feel that pain. But I don't think that criticism I've seen of True Detective is on that sort of level for most people. I think people sincerely really love the first season, and there is so much in the first season. I will say people are guilty of this, wanting it to be the first season. We did get a lot of people in the group saying, they should just bring back Matthew and Woody, and they should just do Rust and Marty just next adventure. It's like, what, Rust and Marty go to Paris? I mean, what are you going to do? They're like 53-year-old men who have been stabbed and shot and wounded, and Rust probably has 4 different kinds of lung cancer. Their characters are played out. We're done. I don't want, if they did another Rust and Marty adventure, it would just be flat and silly. There might be some good dialogue, but it's like, it's perfect. Leave it the way it is. It's just fine the way it is. I think people just wanted that back, and people who don't get that back, I think some of them might be less than open to the positive elements of this season, but there's definitely a plenty in there to criticize legitimately.
Yeah, I'm one of the people that are pretty critical of it too, and I think I was more talking about like the critics than the people on the page. So I've read some vicious reviews, but some of them I've read some like really vicious reviews.
Well, Seppenwall's getting pretty vicious.
Let's make a contest with the most vicious one, and we can review it.
Yeah, I don't know about bloggers, but professional TV critics, this one I'll tell you, absolutely not. They are not in business to hate on TV just for the sake of hating. They might keep their job. They might have their personal foibles. A few of them might end up hating something that the rest of the world likes. But there's also not a big conspiracy where they all get together and say, okay, last year we really liked her.
Yeah, definitely not. Yes.
This year, guys, we're going to take her down.
No.
This is not Mean Girl Prom.
No.
Okay, they have legitimate reasons, and as with anything else, if you think someone's just hating for the sake of hating, okay, great. You still have to address their actual arguments. You still have to say,
prove it.
Yeah, it's like I might hate anything, but if I make an apt criticism of it, it's still an apt criticism. And you still address that. And a TV critic, the last thing that they want to do is blow out their reputation, seeming to be cruel and capricious to a TV show over which they have very little influence on ratings or anything else like that. No, they're giving you their honest opinion because that's their bread and butter. They want to be, they want to have credibility, and their credibility is all they have.
Yeah. All right. Last question, and this is I'll tell you my experience with the show. at least this season, and then you guys can kind of fill in what you think. And it's on the of. And I think Sion said this like the first thing she almost said. I'm just not invested in these characters.
Yeah.
Paul died. I'm just like,
Yeah.
you know, like, and he's Riggins from Friday Night Lights, which is like one of my favorite shows ever. And so I saw Riggins die, and I didn't even care. And it's just like, and I've been defending.
It's like a T-shirt.
I've been defending the show. Go ahead.
I was gonna say a T-shirt. I saw Riggins die, and I didn't even care.
yeah, that happened on Friday Night Lights. I would have cried, like, but I didn't have the same affinity. And I even defend Paul more than most people. I'm like, he's done a good job. He's been all right. You know, I'm a little biased, but for me, it's like I've been reading the reviews, and I thought they were too harsh. And I've been defending it and bouncing it around and all this time. And last episode, everyone says it's good, and I'm not emotionally invested in it. I'm just
yeah.
I agree. The last episode did not emotionally invest me. So what I really liked in the last two episodes, I liked the action scene because it was just so Grand Theft Auto that it was totally absurd. Like it has this big Heisenberg explosion, you know, at the top of the meth building, and literally as I was watching, I'm like, this is the actual camera tracking and level layout and first bad guy encounter, building penetration and chase scene that you get in a Grand Theft Auto level. It's like completely laid out. You know, and so
Jason's a game developer, so
I just completely loved it. I was like, okay, that's fun.
Yeah, this is his career.
Yeah, and in this last, I didn't think much of the orgy episode, but in this last one, I thought, okay, it was like watching Michelle McLaren direct something. That, you know, like there were storylines into Game of Thrones that I wasn't really connecting with very much, and then Michelle McLaren would direct, and it was just like, now I care about these characters.
Yeah, a good director will. It's on the director.
So it's all on the director.
But why do you guys think that it's been such hard? It's been so hard to connect with the characters this year.
Because
I know you said something about the flashbacks.
There's no history with them. They all just met. Right, and they're all screwed up in their own interesting pizza latte kind of way. That's cool. But right now, what does Ray feel for Paul? You know, his one of his partner just got killed, right? And when he's going to respond to that death, you know, I mean, he's going to feel negatively about it or whatever like that. But I don't feel like, Ray and Paul, they were so close. And you know the joke that's running this season is that just captures it perfectly is Stan. People care more about Stan than anybody else. Did you follow any of this in the group at all?
How can you miss it?
And there was memes all over the internet.
Yeah, I did.
When Stan first died, now you have to remember that even if you're in the Russian mob, actually having someone murdered and have their eyes removed and buried in your thing, and he's your guy who you know for 10 or 15 years, that still affects you emotionally as a person. You would say, I'm sad that Stan is dead. But none of us knew who the fuck Stan is. It's like, who the fuck is Stan? And this is the great emotional loss. This is the great loss throughout the entire season is the loss of Stan. Paul is the new one, right? Paul is the greatest loss that we've suffered as an audience, besides the time we've invested, you know? And so I think that's what it is this season. Is like last year, if you were in this episode, like the penultimate episode of the season, and Marty got shot, and Rust came running in to see if he was alive, we'd be on the edge of our seats. Yeah. We'd be panicking. We'd just explode. We would have exploded. Complete, just boom. You'd be hearing it.
I think part of it is that I do think that there's too many characters.
Yeah.
I kind of get this feeling that he was trying to compensate for some of the criticisms, especially in the female stuff. And he's just shoving characters into the frame and not fleshing them out.
And I think
not showing us their entire humanity in the 3D.
Yeah.
I think he should have shortened some speeches, and he should have cut that cast in half.
Antigone should have been a CHP officer. There was no reason to have Paul in this thing.
Yeah, we didn't even need Paul.
Unless the war crimes Blackwater thing works out, but then you could have made him a minor supporting character or something. They should have had Antigone find the body, Velcoro get assigned to her, and it's just the two of them.
Yeah.
And a man and woman together works great for all the criticisms with the woman.
Especially since what's interesting about them, too, as a couple, is that they both have rage problems.
Right. Yeah.
And I liked when he said, "This is what I like about you," because she suppresses her pain.
Right.
He suppresses his. They identify with that, and they both have. He's sexually shut down, and she's hypersexual because of abuse.
Right.
And that's very interesting. There could have been so much rich tension and complexity.
Yeah.
To what makes these people tick, and show us. Don't tell us that they connect. Show us them connecting, and like having him be like a little grossed out that she's like so hypersexual, and then have her be like, "What's your problem?" Whatever. Just getting to know them more.
Yeah.
With Marty and Russ, we got to really know their lives. We got to know their minds. We got to know what goes on in their hearts.
Their families. Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't get that with these guys.
And we were also invested. So here's the other thing, which I think invested me more in the first season, is that from the first frame, Marty and Russ know pretty much the whole story up to the point where they're going to get out of that interview, and then the action goes forward in time. But up to that point, it's all retrospective and narrated. So they have information we don't have. Okay, the perfect example. I was completely thrown and totally impressed by the Reggie Ledoux fake out last year.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was awesome. I was completely in that Reggie was either the killer or directly was involved in this killing, and that they got him and they may have killed him while clearly he's dead. So they must have killed him while getting him. There's a big shootout coming. Oh my God, on the jungle, crazy ass meth biker mutant dudes. Right. And then what happened was actually kind of interesting is the episode before the Reggie Ledoux reveal, we have the tracking scene, which was awesome action, better than the Grand Theft Auto stuff.
Yeah.
And a few of the people in our group were like, "Oh, is this just going to devolve into Lethal Weapon now? Is this just an action show?" Because everyone was like, "We know next week is all action, and now they did action this week. Is this just going to be an action show from here on in?" And it's like, no, everyone wanted an action payoff. Here it is, because you ain't getting it next week. That was very engaging in the way that he told that story, and Rust and Marty both fooled us. They lied to us.
Yeah.
Right? They misdirected us. It was like a stage magic. We have nothing like that this year because none of the characters know anything. There's nobody who's narrating anything or talking to anything, who we care about, who we're invested in, who has any knowledge of what's going on. All we know is what they see. We see everything they see, and that's it. So I think that creates this distance with us and the characters that didn't exist in the first season because Rust and Marty lured us into their world. Annie and Ray, not really. They don't care that we're watching at all, right? Paul is in his own screwed up world. And like Paul and the mom thing, that's so bizarrely Sunset Boulevard and extreme, and it's kind of hard to relate to. It's like, I understand you could be sexually abused by your mother. Would you really be leaving your money in her trailer and this stuff? Maybe you would. Maybe that's realistic, but it doesn't seem very sympathetic, in the way he yells at her like a little kid. It's like, okay, that's clever that he's fully infantilized in front of her. It's also creepy and gross, and so I'm kind of repulsed by Paul. And then I find myself, as a relatively liberal guy saying, oh, here I am being repulsed by the gay character. Fantastic. It's not homophobia. It's I don't like that you have sex with your mom, but it still makes me feel like I don't want to feel negatively toward Paul. If he's being put up as this self-hating gay, I don't want to be feeding into that, right? So things like that, it just doesn't feel as warm. And there's no family people, really, right? Marty was a family man, however flawed. He cared about his kids. Yeah. He cared about his wife.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you got to see him with them. And you have to see him caring about them.
Russ's detachment from the world seemed strange, not totally typical of every character on the show. This year, everybody is as detached from reality as Russ Cole was, or detached from society.
Kind of cold and flat. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like everyone is just smoking and making little beer can men and stabbing each other with knives. So.
All right, guys. I thank you for coming on. Oh, go ahead. You want to get something in? Go ahead.
Yeah, that's awesome. We loved it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Anytime you want, man.
We'll bring you on some of our casts.
Yeah.
If you would like that.
That'd be great. I enjoyed it. You guys are great. You guys, this is one of the better interviews I had. You guys just I didn't have to carry it. A lot of times I didn't have to carry it. I was like, okay, good. I appreciate it. Okay.
We had that exact response before. Like one guy even said, I didn't have to talk at all. We're awful.
We like to say that the whole rest of the world is lucky that we're married.
Yeah. We're talking
you can bounce off each other a little bit.
Oh,
hey, that's why you have a guest on your show. You want them to talk.
And get rid of.
Get rid of it.
In the back of the bus.
Exactly.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Rosie.
See you
Fantastic.
online.